Hi beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for the likes, the comments, and for subscribing. In this video I'll be updating you on Twist of Fate new season. It is hot. Prachi will shock you all, I must tell you. Oh my god, I am liking this. Guess what? Prachi exposed Rhea in front of the police, NGO, in front of the guests, everybody, and got her arrested. Oh my God, as Pallavi called police on Prachi, not knowing that Prachi already called NGO. It is hot in this series. Please subscribe to this channel and don't forget to click on the notification button to be notified anytime I drop a new video. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up. Tell me what you feel about this video in the comment section. Let's go. The episode starts with Rhea holding Rambia's hand and takes him for the ring finding ceremony. Pallavi says we shall not spoil the marriage functions due to someone. Sid gets worried for Prachi and thinks to call Shushma aunt. He recalls Shushma's words that she has given her freedom to choose, and she chose Rambia. A flashback is shown. Sid asks if she didn't get what she wants then. Shushma says then she has to live alone and walk on the path alone, as I will not support her after today. Sid thinks, why did Prachi go there, and asks if she is mad. She should have chose Shushma aunt and not Rambia. He thinks Rambia will not accept Prachi hearing her pregnancy news. Someone comes there and tells that he has to leave, else his US flight will be missed. Pallavi says we shall start the ring finding ceremony and says that husband and wife, whoever searches the ring, will win. Vikram asks Rambia to win, else he will be Joru Kagulam all life. Rambia thinks it is over, Prachi. Prachi says it's over, you can't have any happiness. You have to bear what I have bear. Rhea asks Rambia to look at her and says we have reached here and will not let anyone come between us. Pallavi smiles hearing her. Rhea says we are ready to search the ring. Pallavi drops the ring in the milky rose water. Rambia puts his hand in it. Rhea smiles and puts her hand in the vessel. She smiles and looks at Rambia. Prachi looks at them. Vikram asks Rambia to win. Pallavi asks Rhea to win. Prachi comes there and puts her hand in the vessel. Rhea asks, what the hell? Prachi finds the ring instantly and takes off her hand, showing the ring. She says, game is of you both or the family, but I will rule in this house. She then wears the ring. What? Oh my God. Rhea gets up angrily and tells Pallavi that she was right about her and says police can only kick her out from here. She says why police haven't come here till now. Just then doorbell rings. Rhea says now I will see how she don't go. Prachi says let police come. Inspector comes inside and says someone called us. Pallavi says today was my son's marriage. Rhea says today we got married and Prachi came here to spoil our marriage and entered our house forcibly and threatened us. She asks Inspector to arrest her and says else Prachi herself will be responsible for whatever happens with her. Prachi says I am only responsible for whatever happened with me till now and says I trusted you, it was my mistake. She says I thought mommy accepted me with her heart, it was my mistake. She says I thought everything would be fine and Rambia will never break my trust, it was my mistake. Rhea asks her to stop calling him as her Rambia and says Rambia and my marriage is done. Prachi asks if she is dreaming, that she should open her eyes and tell that it was drama. He is already married to me. I am his wife. Pallavi says you are lying. I don't remember that I blessed you, which is given to Bahu. She says I would have accepted you as my Bahu, but marriage haven't happened. Prachi says marriage has happened and it is accepted with husband and wife's wish. She asks Rambia why he is not saying. Rambia says, now I will say and you will listen. He asks her to prove that they are married. Prove that I used to love you and you used to love me. He says, prove it. Rhea smiles. He thinks to hear from her that they were married and were together as they love each other. He thinks I had done mistake and you left without giving clarification. He recalls asking her to say that she has done mistake and Prachi refuses to give him any clarification. Flashback ends. Prachi asks Rhea if she didn't see her married with Rambia. Rhea says no. Prachi says, then why did you ask to commit suicide, and asks Pallavi, why did you throw your son out of the house for 2 years? She asks Inspector to ask them. Vikram says it was a personal matter and tells that your marriage haven't happened with you. Hey, are they lying? Rhea says, did you hear? And says Rambia is married to me and not you. She asks Inspector to arrest her and take her. Dida says, I have seen their marriage on the mobile. Rhea says such videos come and says it is not a legal marriage. Prachi and Rambia tell that their marriage was legal at the same time. Rhea is shocked and upset. She asks Rambia to come with her. She asks Rambia why is he doing this and taking her side. She has come to ruin our marriage. Rambia says, I am not taking her side. I don't love her. He says my marriage happened with her in temple and then in court. Pallavi comes there and says Inspector said that he wants to arrest Rambia and you. Rhea says why? She says she will talk to him. Rambia says I will talk to Prachi alone. Rhea says no, you will not talk to her. Rambia says I was telling you and not asking you. He goes, gang gang. Rhea tells Pallavi that he behaves differently and changes when Prachi comes in front of him. Pallavi says he might want to discuss the matter with Prachi and end it. Rhea thinks they are not understanding her agenda. She has come to throw me out from here and thinks she must have strong reason to get Rambia back in her life. Rambia holds Prachi and Pallavi's hand. Rhea holds his hand. Pallavi asks her to leave. The ladies come from NGO and tells her they work for women's rights. Rhea thanks them and says this girl is doing drama and not letting my marriage rituals complete. She says she is claiming that my husband is hers and asks them to tell her that she is not welcome here and has no right on my husband. She says whoever called you, her wishes shall be fulfilled. The ladies tell that Prachi has called them. Prachi says, I called NGO as I know how much you can stoop and you have brought police. She says you had told that whoever called them, all their wishes are fulfilled. She says now my wishes will be fulfilled and tells that she is already married to him and his second marriage is invalid. Rambia says, I came to know early morning today that we are officially divorced. A flashback is shown. Rambia tells Pallavi that he can't marry Rhea until he takes officially divorced from Prachi. He says, I will marry you after taking divorce from Prachi. Rhea says she has already divorced you. Rambia asks if Prachi signed on the papers. Rhea says, if you don't believe then I can show you. And says she has signed where you have signed. Rambia asks, when did I sign on it? Pallavi says, you were drunk and angry and signed on it. Rambia says, okay, everything is over. Flashback ends. Prachi says, I haven't signed on any papers. Rambia says, I was not in my senses when I signed and asks if she don't remember that she signed. He says, you have signed yourself and you shall remember. He says, you don't remember when you have broken our marriage. Inspector says, it is clear that you are divorced and that's why your objection is not right. and you shall leave the house right away. Prachi says this is a lie. I haven't signed on any papers. Rambia says you are lying. Prachi asks him to trust her sometimes. Music plays. Dida thinks Rhea and Pallavi have done something wrong, and that's why they are silent. Else, would have run and brought the papers. Vikram says it is done that divorce matters came in front of police and NGO. He hopes police arrest Prachi and NGO help Rhea get her rights. Pallavi goes behind Rhea searching for divorce papers. Rhea searches for the divorce papers. Pallavi tells that we don't have divorce papers and that old papers got ruined due to Shushma. Rhea tells that she got another paper made and will sign on it. Pallavi says you can copy Rambia's sign, but can you sign Prachi's sign? Rhea says when Shushma came here and slapped papers on my face, I was practicing Prachi's sign daily. Pallavi says I will help you to search the papers. She gets the papers and shows to Rhea. Rhea says I have already signed and tells that she needs to add thumb impression. She takes stamp pad and applies her thumb impression as Rambia and Prachi's thumb impression. She comes out and shows the papers to Inspector. Prachi says I haven't given divorce as this marriage is a lifelong relation for me. I can be getting insulted but will not let my relation insulted. She says I haven't signed. Rambia checks the papers and throws it on Prachi, saying it has her sign. Rhea looks on. Prachi checks the papers and tells Inspector that she didn't see the papers carefully. She says these signs are fake and are not mine. She says there is interesting things in these papers. Thank God I am educated and made legal papers for the company before. She says my sister is always a spoilt brat and feels that she is very smart and all the world is foolish. And whatever she thought will be done. She tells Inspector that if he had seen the papers for some time, then would have known. She says for now I want to tell Rambia that these papers are not valid and throws them on him. Rambia looks on him and says I can't understand why Rambia is angry as I signed the papers or that he knows that this sign is not mine. She says due to the fake signatures, the papers are fake. She says due to the forged signatures, the papers are fake and tells that if we agree to my sister's sister that these papers are real, then also court has not passed the orders. Inspector says as court has not passed the orders, Rambia and Prachi's divorce are not done and she is technically his wife still. Prachi says I have many ways to prove this, but I have not come to do this but have returned to get my rights and place in this house back. She says whatever wrong has happened with me, I came to make it all fine. She tells that she will start with these divorce papers and says the question is not that the signatures are not mine, but who has signed on it. She says whoever wants Rambia and my relation to end. Rhea says stop this nonsense. There is nobody who will do your fake signs. Prachi thanks her and says I didn't take anyone's name. Rhea says orders will be passed by the court soon and says it has your sign. Prachi looks at her thumb. Rhea says you can call writing expert and ask her to come with him. Prachi holds her hand. Rhea says leave my hand. Prachi says the hand which shall have mehendi has the ink on her hand. She asks if it is not strange. Everyone sees ink on Rhea's thumb. Rhea and Pallavi get shocked. Prachi says lie color is applied on marriage color. She says she lied to everyone, made the papers and got my fake sign and also applied her thumb impression, but she has forgotten that ink is still there on her thumb. Woohoo! Oh my God, this is interesting. Rhea asks what nonsense and asks her to stop it. Prachi says it is 420 and crime in law's sight. The NGO lady tells that don't know how many cases will be filed on her. Other lady asks Inspector to arrest Rhea. Pallavi says, how can you say this? Prachi says, Mommy, don't say this. and says, just as I held her hand for 2 minutes, her light color got applied on my hand. She says, you are holding her hand since long, and says, if that light color falls on you. She asks her to stay away from Rhea and says, you don't know my talented sister and can put the blame on you. She says she can say that you went behind her when she went to get the papers and you helped her make the papers. She says she can take your name to get her punishment less and can send you to jail. She requests her to stay out of it. Dida smiles. Prachi asks Inspector to take her and says she has done fake marriage. Show her real sasural to her. Rhea attacks her. Prachi moves and Rhea falls on Pallavi. Prachi says, I will not bear anymore. You have crossed your right. Don't force me to get all of you punished. The NGO lady asks Inspector to arrest Rhea. Rhea says, don't arrest me, and asks Pallavi to do something. She says, I am your younger sister, forgive me. Prachi says, that's why I said that you changes color like chameleon. Pallavi asks Prachi to think as she is your sister. Rhea asks Rambia to say something. Vikram tells Prachi that there are other ways to teach her a lesson, but not jail. Rhea says, I don't want to go to jail. Prachi asks Inspector to take her. Rhea asks Rambia and Pallavi to do something. Inspector is about to take her. Prachi stops Inspector and says, I take back my complaint against Rhea. Inspector says, we can't do anything against her. Prachi says she will be punished here at home and says, let the matter be the family matter. She says, leave her. Inspector says, if Rhea had gone to jail, then Pallavi would also be arrested, as she called even though she knew that Rhea was wrong. Prachi says, this is my fight. When I came here after marriage, I thought I would get love, but my loved ones gave my side of love to someone else. She says my fight will continue and thanks them for their support. She says she will solve the matter if they let her stay here. Inspector asks, what do you mean? And says Prachi is Rambia's legal wife and shall stay here. He says if you don't let her stay here, then we can come again. The angel lady tells Prachi that if they call her, then they will give them ultimatum. She says Prachi shall get half share in Kohli's properties and asks them to take care of Prachi. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and come back for more updates from your favorite Z Word series.